On a December morning in 2024, a physicist who left Germany as a young man watched 18 years of his life's work get published in Nature. His name is Hartmut Neven, and what his lab built didn't just solve a 30-year problem in quantum computing. It's already reshaping who gets to work on what comes next, including possibly you. We are breaking down everything you need to know. Check the timestamps on your screen to jump straight to the segment that impacts you more. If you're a researcher on an H-1B, a postdoc watching your visa clock run down, or a scientist who's never once thought your work sounds extraordinary enough to matter to an immigration case, this episode is for you. Because the breakthrough you're about to hear about didn't happen because the system made it easy. It happened because one immigrant scientist got the chance to keep working here, year after year, until it paid off. Here's what he built and what his path says about yours. On December 9th, 2024, Google published a paper in Nature. The paper described something that physicists and computer scientists had been trying to achieve for nearly 30 years. Google's new quantum chip, Willow, had solved the problem of quantum error correction at scale, not partially, not theoretically. In a working device with 105 qubits at a level that demonstrated something nobody had achieved before. As you scale up a quantum computer, errors multiply. That has been the defining obstacle to building anything practically useful. More qubits should mean more power, but historically, more qubits meant more chaos, more noise, more errors cascading through the system and making the output meaningless. Willow broke that pattern. As Google scaled Willow from a 3x3 to a 5x5 to a 7x7 lattice of physical qubits, the encoded error rate was suppressed exponentially. Every time the system got bigger, it got more reliable, not less. That is the 30-year breakthrough. That is what Nature called a truly remarkable achievement in quantum error correction. And then there is the raw performance number. Willow completed a standard benchmark computation in under 5 minutes. The same computation, running on Frontier, the fastest classical supercomputer in the world at the time, would take 10 septillion years. That is a 1 followed by 25 zeros, a number that exceeds the age of the universe by an almost unimaginable margin. Hartmut Neven, the founder of Google Quantum AI, was direct about what this means. Willow paves the way for large-scale, useful quantum computers. The implications reach into every field that depends on computation at scale: drug discovery, materials science, financial modeling, and most critically for national security, cryptography and post-quantum encryption. Whoever builds practical quantum computing first will have a significant head start in any field that depends on information security, from cryptography to financial systems to defense. That is why quantum computing is not just a scientific story. It carries real implications for U.S. competitiveness and security. And it is why the engineers building quantum algorithms in American labs right now matter far beyond their own labs. Their work has consequences for the country's technological and economic future.
The Immigrant Visionary. His name is Hartmut Neven. He was born in 1964 in Aachen, Germany. He is a physicist by training, and he is, by any fair assessment, one of the most consequential scientists working in the United States today. Neven studied physics and economics across 5 countries: Brazil, Germany, France, England, and Israel, before earning his PhD in 1996 with a thesis on autonomous mobile robots and vision-guided systems. He then joined the University of Southern California as a research professor in computer science and theoretical neuroscience. Then came Google. At Google, Neven built what became one of the most productive computer vision teams in the world. He was a co-founder of Google Glass. His teams won major international visual recognition competitions. In 2006, he turned his attention to quantum computing, and he spent the next 18 years building the infrastructure, the team, and the hardware that produced Willow. In 2012, Neven co-founded the Quantum Artificial Intelligence Laboratory at NASA Ames alongside NASA and the university's Space Research Association. That lab became Google Quantum AI. In 2025, Time magazine named him one of the 100 most influential people in AI. He told Time, long before AI turns 100, all advanced AIs will use quantum computing resources. We won't discriminate between AI and quantum anymore. There will be only one discipline called quantum AI. Neven is a German national who has built his career in the United States. He has spent more than 2 decades at the intersection of American scientific infrastructure, American institutional support, and the kind of long-horizon research that requires stability, continuity, and the freedom to work at the frontier. The lab he built, the chip his team produced, the breakthrough that Nature published. All of it happened inside the United States, built by someone who immigrated here and stayed. That's not a matter of opinion, it's what the record shows.
The immigration strategy. Here's a composite case, built from the kind of researcher profile we see regularly. A quantum algorithms researcher, 36 years old, originally from Waterloo, Ontario. We'll call him Liam. Canada's quantum research ecosystem is genuinely world-class. The University of Waterloo's Institute for Quantum Computing is one of the leading centers for the field anywhere in the world. Liam completed his doctoral research there, focusing on error mitigation protocols for near-term quantum devices. He then received an offer from a California-based quantum computing company, building early access algorithms for post-quantum cryptography applications. The work fed directly into U.S. cryptographic security research. His company held an active DARPA research contract. The algorithms team was small, specialized, and operating at the frontier of what was practically possible. Liam arrived on an H-1B visa. The work was everything he had hoped for. Publications were moving. His patent application on a novel error mitigation circuit was progressing through review. His employer valued him, but Canada is not a country with an employment-based green card backlog. His obstacle was different from what an Indian or Chinese national would face. His obstacle was the lottery. H-1B lottery timelines created uncertainty that his employer, a small, well-funded startup, could not plan around easily. The kind of uncertainty that makes a critical research higher a liability risk rather than a pure asset. Liam had publications in Physical Review, X, and NPJ Quantum Information. He had presented at QIP, the Quantum Information Processing Conference, one of the most selective gatherings in the field. He had a pending patent. He had letters he could get from colleagues at Princeton and Caltech who had independently engaged with his published work. He did not know any of this could fuel an EB-1A petition until he found BreakthroughUSA.com, until he called the law offices of Chris M. Ingram. As attorney Chris M. Ingram explains, cases like Liam's are a strong example of researchers underselling themselves. We see someone who published a few papers and had 1 patent pending. What's actually there is sustained contribution at the frontier of a nationally critical field, work independently engaged by researchers at leading institutions, and an employer with a documented government research relationship. That's the kind of record that can support an EB-1A case, if you know how to build it. What is EB-1A? And why does it matter for quantum researchers? The EB-1A is an immigrant visa petition, a pathway to permanent residence for individuals of extraordinary ability in their field, unlike the O-1A non-immigrant visa, which still requires a U.S. employer or agent to file on your behalf. EB-1A lets you self-petition outright. You own the process, and for most nationalities, once your petition is approved, there's no separate priority date wait behind it. The green card process moves right away. That was true for Liam. As a Canadian national, once his petition was approved, he was current immediately. If you're from a country currently facing an EB-1 backlog, India and China both have per-country cutoff dates in effect right now. EB-1A still gets you out of the H-1B lottery entirely and into a self-petition process you control. It simply means visa number availability follows your country's current cutoff date, the same as it would under any other employment-based category. That's a conversation worth having directly with our office, because those dates move every month. To qualify, an applicant must meet either a single defining achievement, a Nobel Prize, a Fields Medal, a major internationally recognized award, or at least 3 of 10 regulatory criteria. Those 10 criteria include nationally or internationally recognized prizes or awards, membership in associations that require outstanding achievement of their members, as judged by recognized experts in the field, published material about you in professional or major media, Participation as a judge of others' work. Original contributions of major significance to the field. Authorship of scholarly articles in professional journals. Display of work in exhibitions or showcases of distinction. Performing a leading or critical role for distinguished organizations. Commanding a high salary relative to others in the field. Commercial success in the performing arts. For a quantum computing researcher, the relevant criteria almost always include original contributions, scholarly publications, peer review participation, and critical role at a distinguished organization. Many add the salary criterion and expert letters that establish the significance of the field and the researcher's place in it. There is one important difference between EB-1A and the O-1A. EB-1A is an immigrant visa. It leads directly to a green card, and only the beneficiary can file it. O-1A is a non-immigrant work visa that always requires a separate petitioner, an employer, or an agent, even when that petitioner is a company the beneficiary owns, because USCIS requires real separation between petitioner and beneficiary. EB-1A also applies a final merits determination. USCIS looks at the totality of the evidence to ensure the applicant genuinely stands among the small percentage at the very top of their field. Meeting the criteria is necessary. It is not always sufficient. This is why the quality of the petition, the narrative framing, the expert letters, the presentation of evidence matters so much. Two researchers with identical records can receive different outcomes based entirely on how the case is built and presented. Attorney Chris M. Ingram notes this directly. The EB-1A standard is real. We do not file cases we do not believe in. But what we consistently find is that quantum computing researchers and engineers are applying a self-assessment filter that is far more stringent than the one USCIS actually uses. They look at their record and compare themselves to a Nobel laureate. USCIS compares them to others in their specific field at their career stage, doing their specific type of work. Those are very different comparisons. The RFE, turning a harder question into a stronger case. Liam's initial petition received a request for evidence. USCIS asked for clearer differentiation between his individual contributions and the collaborative output of his team, a common question in quantum computing cases, where research is often highly collaborative. The law offices of Chris M. Ingram responded with a targeted supplemental package, a declaration from Liam describing in precise technical terms the specific innovations he originated within collaborative work, an additional expert letter from a Princeton quantum engineer who had independently cited Liam's error mitigation protocol in their own published research, not the team's work, his alone, a comparative analysis demonstrating that Liam's salary placed him in the top tier of quantum computing researchers at his career stage, drawn from industry compensation data. The RFE response went back within the deadline, detailed, specific, documented. Approval came 6 weeks later. Liam's green card followed. His wife, who had been on a dependent H-4 visa, applied for work authorization. His research continued without a single day of interruption. He is now leading the error mitigation work stream at his company, the same work he was doing on an H-1B, now with the permanent certainty that no lottery will ever interrupt it again. That kind of outcome is why clients like Riaz have said this about working with our office. Alexandra is my caseworker and deserves a 5-star rating. So far, she has been excellent. She is detailed and realistic. She sets clear expectations. The action plan, if you are a quantum researcher in the United States. Step 1. Understand that quantum computing is an explicitly designated national priority. The U.S. National Quantum Initiative Act established federal commitment to quantum science leadership, and Congress has moved to reauthorize and extend that commitment. DARPA, the Department of Energy, and the National Science Foundation all have active quantum research programs. That legislative and funding infrastructure is exactly the kind of evidence that supports the substantial prospective benefit to the United States, showing EB-1A petitions require. Your field has already been formally designated as strategically critical. Step 2. Map your record against the criteria honestly and specifically. Publications in Physical Review, X, NPJ Quantum Information, Nature Physics, or conference proceedings from QIP, IEEE Quantum Week, or Q2B. These are indicators of standing in the field that EB-1A adjudicators recognize. Citation counts, peer reviewer invitations, and patent applications are supporting evidence. Document all of it. Step 3. Treat collaborative work carefully. Quantum research is almost always collaborative. The EB-1A requires demonstrating your individual contribution within collaborative output. Start keeping records now of what is specifically yours, the protocols you originated, the algorithms you designed, the technical decisions that were attributed to your judgment. These records become the foundation of the individual contribution argument if an RFE comes. Step 4. Build your expert letter network deliberately. The strongest letters in a quantum computing EB-1A come from researchers at named institutions: Princeton, Caltech, MIT, Stanford, the University of Maryland, IBM Quantum, IonQ, who have independently engaged with your specific work, not your collaborators. Independent experts who can speak to your contribution without a personal or professional relationship that USCIS will discount. Step 5. Move before the lottery forces you to. Canadian nationals like Liam faced no priority date backlog in the EB-1 category today. If you're a national of a country that does face a current backlog, EB-1A still removes the lottery risk entirely and puts you in control of a self-petition process. Talk to us about what your specific timeline looks like. File from strength, not from crisis. Attorney Chris M. Ingram puts it directly. The researchers who come to us after a lottery failure are harder to help than the ones who come before it. Not impossible, but harder. The EB-1A is a planning tool. Use it while your status is stable, your record is current, and your employer's support is still available to you. On December 9, 2024, a German physicist who spent his career building things inside American institutions published a paper in Nature that changed what quantum computers can do. Hartmut Neven did not just announce a chip. He delivered a 30-year breakthrough. And he did it from Santa Barbara, California, at the lab he founded with the team he built, inside the country that gave him the infrastructure and the stability to work at that scale for that long. The researchers now building on Willow's foundation, writing the algorithms, testing the protocols, pushing error mitigation further than it has been pushed before, are doing work that will reshape medicine, finance, and the architecture of national security for decades. Some of them are on H-1B visas. Some of them have no idea they could self-petition for a green card today. If that is you, BreakthroughUSA.com has more on how the EB-1A process works and how to get a case evaluation. The law offices of Chris M. Ingram has built EB-1A petitions for researchers at the frontier of their fields for more than 2 decades. No lottery required. As attorney Chris M. Ingram says, you don't need anyone's permission to document what you've already built. Let's put your record in front of USCIS the way it deserves to be seen.